All right, Dexter fans, here we are now with episode 8 of Dexter New Blood. As I've said the last couple episode reviews, that the foundation is being laid for the end game. Everything's being set up. Now the end is in sight. We can pretty much see how it's going to go down for the most part. Everything's out in the open. And another great episode, another one of the best ones. The last episode 7, I said was one of the best because it felt like a classic cat and mouse between Dexter and the killer, or Dexter and the villain episode that we all know and love from previous seasons, especially from like the first 4, because it's helmed by Clyde Phillips. This one was one of the best because it was certainly the most intense and suspenseful. This one definitely had the most happen and setting itself up for the rest of the season. Also, what made this episode so awesome and great and really fly by was how focused it was. There wasn't a whole lot going on. We just had our 2 main plots and then our subplot. And all 3 were extremely focused in what they were trying to say and trying to get done. I mean, we have, with Dexter, picked up from the last episode, with Kurt's trucker minion grabbing him. Here, he's become the hunted. The guy is meant to bring Dexter to Kurt's cabin. Dexter causes an accident because he's only zip-tied. And he gets it around the guy's mouth, and Chelsea grins him. Is able to wreck the truck, and then he's hunted for pretty much the whole hour, which we've also never seen before. It's a pretty original episode. Dexter's the one bleeding and running through the woods, chased by a hunter. That's his story. With Harrison, he's kind of being taken under the wing of Kurt and really having this father-son day that he's needed for so long, where Kurt is being like this surrogate father and just, kind of treating Harrison as if it's his birthday. But we know that Kurt needs Harrison and Dexter both at his cabin at the same time because he's got something very sinister planned. And we do see him in the beginning of the episode in his blue Tyvek suit, in his, sort of his makeup morgue type room, talking to his trucker guy about having both of them there. And that's where most of the suspense is. I mean, we can kind of figure Dexter's gonna get out of it, but then again, this is supposed to be the final season, the true finale. I don't care what anyone says. I know Michael C. Hall and Clyde Phillips had recently said that a continuation is not out of the realm of possibility. As long as he's alive at the end of this, I'm sure, but I'll get to that. But it's pretty safe to say Dexter's going to make it out of this, but we don't know what Kurt has planned for Harrison, but we know he's got something not very good planned, which makes that whole subplot, really intense and really suspenseful, even though Harrison's having a good time. And then the third, the C story, is Angela really looking into Jim Lindsay and all the sketchy things he's been doing, such as she goes to talk to the drug dealer that he beat up a few episodes ago. She looks into the higher up drug dealer that he made OD, finds the similarities of the needle mark with the ketamine, looks into ketamine usage in Miami Metro. That brings up Bay Harbor Butcher. And that's about as far as it goes, but I can tell from the promo for next week it's going to get deeper than that. And I have to say, for next week, that's what I'm more interested in, and I'll get to why. And that's basically it. We have, Kurt takes Harrison to the school, showing him it's good to be bad. They break in, they use the batting cage area, and Kurt keeps kind of, at first I wasn't sure what he was trying to do, because he keeps saying, like, your dad never taught you baseball? Your dad never cooked you venison? I didn't know if he was just trying to figure out things about Dexter through Harrison, but it also felt like he was just kind of somewhat trying to rub it in his face that your dad hasn't done anything for you and I'm willing to do any of this. But they have a pretty intense outcome of their story, and just the way everything combines at the end. This was one hell of an episode. Also, what this one did was, as I said last week, my continuous minor complaints or flaws that I've had throughout this series is the usage of Deb and the usage of Harrison. Now, last week, Deb was in one scene, just pretty much given some dialogue that really summed up what the whole episode was about. Here, she's in two scenes, but it's one or two lines in each one. Very short and sweet. No overacting, no humor, or, hey, I'm part of your subconscious so I can make anything happen. No, she just gives lines like, you need to get to Harrison. Then later on, like, try his cell phone. It's very simple. The usage of Harrison, where, it's always, act cool and mingle at school, give little hints of darkness throughout, and then get mad at Dexter, grab your coat, and leave. That's been his whole performance, or his whole character, I should say. The kid that plays him has always done a great job. Here, he really has something to bite into, because, and I won't get into the best part until I get the spoilers, but here he really, you can see him having fun with Kurt, and then we have the last few scenes with him where, it's been a long time coming. It's been basically 6, because he didn't come until the end of the first episode. But 6 episodes, now we finally get the moment at the end of this one. I have to say, though, I'm really interested in Angela's story with, figuring out Jim Lindsay, figuring out Dexter Morgan, and possibly looking into the Bay Harbor Butcher. Because if this really is the true finale, this will be the 3rd time we've had someone look into Bay Harbor Butcher and figure out it's Dexter if she gets that far. Dokes, LaGuerta, now Angela. And I'm a firm believer in, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Even though I don't mind the last scene of season 8, self-imposed exile, fine. The whole season was a mess. Everything else is a mess. That needed fixing. I'm glad we have this season or this series. If this ends very well, I don't want to see a new season. I don't want it to continue. And I wouldn't mind if Dexter gets caught. That's the ending I would kind of accept. And I don't know why, but that's how I would want to see if it was to truly end. Because we've seen him get out of some crazy near-death experiences. That it's got to be something crazy to actually believe that's what's going to take him out. So getting caught would have to, and this whole season has pretty much been about him with his guard down, how rusty and just how sloppy he is. It would make sense, but I should have saved that for spoilers, even though I haven't really given anything away. So there were some good moments in Dexter's story. He's running through the woods. He does get shot. He gets shot in the leg, so he's like rubbing his blood on trees and getting his squeezing his leg to squirt blood in the snow to get the guy to go where he wants to. Which this guy is like a lifelong hunter. He knows how to track. And I do like the scene that's kind of like The Shining, where Dexter retraces his steps in the snow, but then you get the guy yelling like, that's the oldest trick in the book. And Dexter does lead him back to the summer camp, while Harrison and Kurt are in the school using the batting cage. Harrison, Kurt shows Harrison, he stands next to him, teaches him how to bat. You can tell Harrison really digs it. It's like, this is what having a dad is like. But Harrison keeps getting hit, but he allows it to happen because every time he gets hit with a flash of Trinity or getting in a fight or listening to the Trinity podcast. And it's like at first I thought he was trying to see more of something he repressed, but I guess he's just punishing himself. And Kurt just keeps like dropping the balls in, like watching him. And then I thought it was going to get to a point where, because we see Harrison's side, which is all bruises. I don't know if, I thought it was going to get to a point where, if it didn't end this way, Dexter would see the bruises, think it was Kurt, make a big scene, and kind of get everyone in town against him. Kind of make him look like the crazy one. It's not going to go in that direction. But then, it all comes into a very good climax at Kurt's cabin. And, really feels like we're getting down to the end, because even during the promo, this was the first time it said only X amount of episodes left, in this case 2. And I'm not really sure what to think about the promo, because I really don't want I'll save it. This was a great episode. Most of the suspense was the scenes with Kurt and Harrison, because, again, we don't know his plan. And that's been one of the best things about Kurt, is even when he's doing something, like even when he's killing his victims, we don't know what his ultimate plan is. He plays everything close to the chest, and it's not till things happen do we see what his plan is. But you can always tell he's working, he's organizing in his head. And, Harrison, the actor that plays Harrison really got a good chance to act at the end of this one. And there's some really great moments in Kurt's cabin and afterwards. This was a great episode. Really a wonderful way to set up, what the rest is going to be, and the most exciting one. And I cannot wait for Sunday. But with that, I'm going to get to spoilers. So eventually Dexter is able to track or, lure the trucker guy to the summer camp that we've been to a few times. And he's able to hide out, but he's putting his blood everywhere to get the guy to look around. And then there's this cool scene where the guy sees a mirror. He kind of walks up to it. He checks out his face. Dexter jumps through it. He's on top of him with the guy's knife. And the guy tells us, I was supposed to bring you to Kurt's cabin where he has your kid. And, nothing personal. And then Dexter just slides the knife into him. He's like, when it comes to my son, there's nothing more personal. Now, that's cool and everything, but now Dexter has his blood everywhere. I'm pretty sure it showed him removing the body, but now his blood's everywhere. I guess that goes along with how kind of sloppy he's been. And yes, his son is in jeopardy now, so he's probably not thinking as much. But so Kurt gets Harrison to his cabin. He cooks him some venison. And there's these great lines of dialogue, like where Kurt tells him, hey, be who you are. Don't change for anybody. And, fuck the rest. And then he tells him, find what you enjoy, find what brings you pleasure, and do that thing. You do you, and do what makes you happy. And it seems like Kurt knows a little bit about Harrison. I mean, he saw him break that kid's arm, and he told him he was proud of him after. And, Harrison, you can tell it's hitting him emotionally because he's never been told that, and he's been waiting, he's been waiting years, but definitely been waiting this whole season for his dad to tell him that. And then there comes the heartbreaking moment where Kurt tells him, if you were my son, I never would have walked out on you. I never would have left. And you can tell Harrison is totally shook by that. and like he has to hold back crying almost in happiness. And Kurt's like, oh, I gotta take care of something. He goes back and he comes out in his kill gear, and that's when he says, sorry, it had to come to this. Get outside, run. And we've already set Kurt up for being quite the sadist throughout this season. And I knew that doing this the whole time was Kurt's plan, but I do think that when he was telling him all those things about be you, do what makes you happy, and, if you were my son, I would have stayed and loved you, I think that was genuine. I don't think he was trying to get Harrison, in an easy place, get his guard down, make him feel happy, and then totally crush it by telling him to run for his life. I think that was genuine. Because I think Kurt has always had a soft spot for Harrison. Just through circumstance, he happens to be the son of the guy that killed his son, and that overrides how he feels about Harrison. And, Harrison's like, he's telling him he's sorry, can he make it up? And he's stumbling. He tells him to run. And just at that moment, that's when the guy, Dexter, in the truck pulls up. And Kurt's yelling, like, get him out here. I want him to see, pretty much what happens when you fuck with me. But then the truck doesn't stop. And that's when he realizes something's wrong. Almost gets run over. It goes off and he misses. And you have this great moment where I actually thought, are they going to go out and shoot Harrison? Because we hear the gunshot, and I think we see Dexter's face first. And then we see Harrison kind of checking himself. And then he hears the voice, Harrison. Because the whole time he's at Kurt's, his phone is blowing up from Dexter, who has the trucker's phone. But he's got it on airplane mode, and he keeps finding excuses to step aside and check his phone and text him. But he never gets back to Dexter. And they're still not quite seeing eye to eye at this point either. But so he hears Dexter yell his name, and you get this great moment where they just run up and they hug. And they see Kurt has ran off, and they're both in the truck. Harrison's saying, like, how did you know? How'd you know I was here? How'd you know about him? And then finally, 6 episodes after his introduction, Dexter says, I have to tell you everything. I shouldn't have let it get this far. And he starts off by telling him what he needs to hear, first off. Like, don't ever feel alone about your dark urges. I have them too. Just like you, I was born in blood. And, really just telling him, hey, I'm your father. And everything wrong with you, I also have. And I'm finally going to tell you everything. And you get this great moment where, like, Harrison's kind of looking at him while he's saying this. You can see the tears build up, and then he just can't help it. He just reaches over and hugs him while he's driving. And it's like, finally, it finally happened. And the build-up was worth it, because I wouldn't have had that interaction any other way. It was beautifully done. And it ends with the voiceover of, this is all he's ever wanted, and I think this is all I've ever wanted. And then it ends. And I always hate it when we hear the blood theme, because I'm just like, show more. This episode did go by the fastest than any other episode, because it was so focused and so fast-paced, and each subplot was really direct, and it didn't meander at all equally suspenseful. I liked where Angela's left off, where it just, her starting to listen to the Bay Harbor Butcher episode of Molly's podcast, which a lot of people seem to think, because she wasn't in this episode, that when we see Kurt in the beginning with his Tyvek suit, he's already got Molly's body. She's already dead. He already killed her off screen. It is going to be revealed in episode 9. But Also in episode 9, we're going to see Dexter reveal to Harrison. I don't know how far it's going to go. I hope he tells him everything. But, you know, it's the next to last episode. So, personally, you know, I don't know if the stuff with the clown is a flashback to stuff we didn't see before, because it looks very Miami. And, you know, I think Angela's really going to be delving into the podcast because it had Molly's voiceover for it. But my hope would be, which if Kurt is alive at the end of, you know, the next episode, he'll be the first and only villain since Trinity to be alive and in every episode of a season. Which, you know, and also it shows how, you know, Kurt's kind of making appearances to everyone. Like, he sees Harrison, he's like, I'll see you around. And he kind of does, like, the gun thing. Making silent threats. I wouldn't mind seeing Kurt's story be concluded in the next episode. I mean, done well, and not to get him out of the way, but so that the last episode can really focus, if they plan on doing it, going all out with the Bay Harbor Butcher stuff. And Angela blowing that wide open, and Dexter really dealing with his secret going out to the world. But either way, even if it doesn't go that route, I'm excited for it regardless. It looks great. I'm very ecstatic. I know I said the most excited I've been. Well, actually, I've been pretty consistently excited since the ending of episode 5. Like, you know, 5, one of the best episodes. 6, more transitionary. But when it ended, I was very stoked. 7, great episode. This, also a great episode. And I'm sure 9 and 10 will not disappoint. If going from 7 to 8 is a sign of momentum that will carry till the end, we're going to have a very, very great third act of a season and finale of a season. And hopefully a good finale to 9-season run. Which, you know, if it deals with him being caught, I think that would be the best ending. But anyway, that's episode 8. I'm very excited for episode 9. And I'll see you guys on the review for that. Thank you for watching.